Hello, I am Sol, and I am a World of Warcraft commentator who does news, lore, and today I'm going to be doing some stuff on game design, and in particular, I'm going to be talking about a proposed feature for Blizzard developers to maybe look at. Last time I did a presentation on player housing, using my vision of what I think it could be as a system, as well as, well, on top of that, I was respecting the views of Blizzard Entertainment with regards to just what their concerns are with player housing, and of course, of factoring in what the players want as well. Today I'm going to be talking about another feature that might seem slightly related, but by the end of it, you're gonna find that the only shared commonality between these two systems is that it's going to look at WoW in the very long term. So, well, without further ado, I'm going to be talking about guild housing, or guild halls, as I'm going to be referring to it throughout this video. First though, a quote by the game director of World of Warcraft as it is right now, Ian Hazzikostas.
I don't think it's arguable at all. I think guilds are absolutely the backbone of community in WoW.
Okay, so that's a lot of big talk, Ian. Cool. However, while there's been a big push for communities, as in cross-realm communities and the BattleNet community system, guilds themselves, as a smaller unit, they haven't been given a lot of love or attention ever since Cataclysm, and that was like 8 years ago. All you have to do is pull up the guild achievement UI and take a look at some of those. I guess one example that comes to mind are the profession achievements. Some of those date back really far, and there hasn't been an update since. So here are some what I call shared beliefs about guilds, while respecting the fact that both guilds and its guild members and players overall will take these values very differently, depending on who you are. Guilds tend to be close-knit. They have a family kind of feel. They have a sense of camaraderie. Because, well, when the raid's over, when the dungeon is complete, when the battleground is done, you're still in that same guild. So there is a sort of commitment that happens there. There's a certain level of prestige when it comes to being in a guild. Some guilds are very, very well known among their server counterparts by being a very strong PvP guild. Some other guilds happen to be the world first at downing mythic content. And guilds, like I said earlier, are a more long-term commitment. When the content is over, you still happen to be in that same guild. You tend to like each other, usually. But something that guilds lack is the sense of an outward appearance. Now, of course, guilds are best represented by its guild members and the shiny tag that they have under their name. However, apart from maybe reputation, that's about it, and the only expression of a guild that you see really is outside of the World of Warcraft, for example, in a website or a Twitter feed. So one of the goals of guild housing is to take the prestige, the reputation, and renown of a guild and make that something that isn't just represented on a UI, but it's something that you can walk into and look at and interact with in-game. There's kind of a problem, though. Not everyone is part of a guild, and, well, there's an even bigger problem on top of that. Not everyone really cares to ever be in a guild, and that's okay. The landscape or the culture of WoW, it's changed over the past decade or so. And maybe it is the industry, maybe, like I said, it's the culture of this current generation. But slowly and surely, the idea of a very tight, close-knit group of friends coming together and being part of a guild, it's kind of, the World of Warcraft has kind of leaned away from that and leaned towards the convenience of pick up and play, of random matchmaking queues, and, well, pickup groups or pugs. So at first glance, it doesn't seem very practical at all to design a system that may only be used very extensively by so few people. And on top of that, guild halls should definitely not be a system that makes players feel bad about not being part of a guild or not taking guilds very seriously. However, if it is as Ian believes, and guilds are the backbone of communities in the World of Warcraft, then they do need this strong visual expression with a couple of maybe some minor perks to acknowledge the renown and the achievements that guilds have accomplished. So when I mocked up this design, I had to consider some of the more widely held reasons why guild halls should not be a thing, either from players or from Blizzard themselves. One big reason is that, at least at first glance, guild halls seem to be a feature that only the guildmaster would be able to enjoy. When it comes to the customization of things, the building of things, and putting things together, it's something that that only that one person would be able to participate in. There's also the concern that Blizzard has long held that if you have a system like player housing, like guild halls, that it would give a reason to not hang out in the city or otherwise not be in public. And there is in fact that risk of large cities or hubs feeling like ghost towns because people are in their own instanced thing. And of course, there's the big daddy reason of them all, that, well, Blizzard could do anything else apart from guild housing. Do they want to take away from one cool feature to implement this particular feature? That's a very valid question. So instead of taking these bullet points here and making guild halls a non-starter, let's instead use these as obstacles, as challenges to overcome instead. Let's try to find a way to design around it. So the foundation of creating guild halls is based on several criteria. One is that it's got to be cool for all parties involved, not just the guild master, but also the guild members, that they should participate in what it is with creating guild halls. At the same time, people who don't take guilds seriously or don't care for guilds at all should not feel disadvantaged. Maybe they can feel a little bit envious that there are things that guilds can do, but they shouldn't feel like they have to be in a guild in order to accomplish something. At the same time, we want to avoid making guild halls feel too compelling. We don't want to give a reason for players to never leave their guild halls, but of course at the same time, really it's just a matter of, hey, where are you going to AFK this time? Also, when it comes to those old Blizzard statements of cities feeling desolate, that quote came before the idea of cross-realm zones and sharding technology that helps to prevent instances like that, regardless of whether we had guild halls, player housing, or whatnot. And the guild hall feature needs to be evergreen, as if it's always existed in the World of Warcraft. So guild halls will respect the 14 years of history in WoW, and it's also going to look forward to the future and update itself accordingly. So, I'd like you to close your eyes. Okay, maybe not close your eyes, but I'd like you to imagine, and I'm going to describe what guild halls are going to be, and I'd like you to help visualize this experience. And I don't have the know-how to just mock up like a fake guild hall, so this is low tech, alright? So imagine this. It's raid night. It's actually a couple of minutes before you and your team need to get together. And you teleport or you walk into the area just outside of your guild hall. And outside, you notice that the environment is Duskwood. Duskwood just south of Elwyn Forest. So you're out there and you notice a couple of target dummies and you see some of your guildmates from your raid team are practicing on them. They're just warming up, getting ready for the big night. Off to the side, you see a couple of monuments, the heads of Onyxia and Nefarian, just kind of hanging out there. They're earlier kills, back before even you joined the guild, but it gets you a little bit pumped up that, you know what, maybe my work, maybe the accomplishments that the guild achieves today will make, you know, this third dragon's head get mounted up on that spike. You walk into the guild hall, into the main room. And up above on the high ceiling, the large banners of your guild are hanging down, the colors that you're wearing on your tabard right now. You're here mostly to get some supplies from the bank, and all of you are going to travel to the instance together. As you're walking there, you notice a couple of things. There's an armor rack there with Tier 3 Warlock armor, something that the Guildmaster had unlocked many, many years ago, and it's not something that you care for, but, well, he or she just likes to brag anyway. Also on the way to the bank, you happen across a couple of pictures on the wall. These are other big, notable raid kills from before your time here in this guild. You take just a moment to click on the placard under that picture, and it shows all the names of the guildmates who were there. Some of them sound familiar, some of them not so much, because, well, they're gone now. You move on into a hall where a lot of the guild's crafters are gathered. They're making a whole bunch of consumables for the raid because you're probably going to wipe a lot tonight. Fortunately, even though there are a lot of resources to go through, the guild's crafters have unlocked a perk that makes the cast time for creating all these consumables a little bit faster. So you go to the guild's bank, you grab some stuff, but then you need to go to your personal bank. So you walk into your room. Inside your room are a number of decorations and of course your personal bank. There's also an empty armor and weapon rack. And you left them empty on purpose because you really want to get those pieces tonight so you can hang them right above your bed. All of a sudden you realize the time and you see in guild chat that, hey, it's time to get everyone together. So everyone gathers around outside. Outside, next to those dummies and monuments, is an inactive portal. The raid leader talks to an NPC and activates this portal. This portal will take you directly to whichever instance that you need to go to, and in this case, it's going to be to the raid instance that you're going to be farming tonight. Alright, wake up folks. Let's talk about just what a guild hall is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place to facilitate guild activity, whether it's PvE or PvP or roleplay, and it's supposed to allow you to enjoy just a few perks and customizations. For example, some of the weekly things that you do, such as getting your extra role tokens or opening up your PvE or your Mythic Plus chest, that stuff is going to be there. I did mention that there is a profession perk that you can lower. This is just an example, but you can lower the cast time of creating flasks and food and potions. As an added bonus, there can be things called work orders. So, for example, maybe at the guild's stable, there's an NPC that you can talk to, and this NPC is asking for 5 of those monolite stirrups. Okay, cool. One of your crafters gets it together, turns in that quest, and then for the next couple of days or so, that NPC will distribute a weaker version of that particular buff for free. You just go in, talk to them, and then you get like a 1-hour buff. Apart from those and other convenience perks like the portal that I talked about, a lot of what guild halls are going to be is a visual achievement UI, a way to display your prestige and express it the way that you want to. So completing dungeon, raid, or PvP achievements are going to unlock these individual customizations. It's not going to be a system where you are crafting or farming for resources and dumping it into the guild in order to create these customizations. Achievements are going to unlock additional rooms for more customization and display. So as another couple of examples, the profession-related stuff. If you create 5,000 glyphs, it's going to unlock just a visual representation of the glyph lexicon. I totally forgot what it was called. Or if you happen to have obtained legendaries, it's going to unlock this legendary room where it's kind of like a legendary trophy case where it'll display some of the most renowned weapons that your guild has obtained. Different banners, frames, and adornments can be earned depending on whether you got ahead of the curve or cutting edge. And there's so much more that you can have that's based just on the achievement system itself. Just about all those things that I talked about is in fact going to be something that is under the dominion of the guildmaster themselves. But there is also going to be a dorm or a barracks that you can customize yourself as a player. So inside you'll have some limited customization such as the general theme, the color, maybe some of the furniture. Like I mentioned earlier, an armor or a weapon rack to hang like your favorite stuff. And I'll touch on this just a little bit more, but the entire crafting operation of guild halls, it's not going to be like player housing as I had mentioned before. This is going to be entirely based on guild achievements. It's simply going to be a series of unlocks that are obtained as you and your guild earn these achievements. And the reason for this is because guilds are a system into itself. It's not something that each player is going to have. So for example, if the guild suddenly disbands, everything that the guild is, including the guild hall, will go away. I think the last thing a player would want to see is to see all of the time and effort and gold that they put into giving resources to the guild and all that stuff to just kind of go up in smoke. And with that in mind too, the guild hall itself isn't going to have the freeform customization that I'm sure that some players would love to have when it comes to building your own home. In this case, guild halls are going to work with a selection of prefabricated buildings, which are still expandable, but the customization is going to be pretty limited. So you do unlock rooms, but you don't have any control of where that room is located at. Doodads, monuments, and other placements are going to, for the most part, be anchored in certain areas. So off of a certain wall, you can hang a certain number of adornments, or frames, or pictures, or weapon racks, but you can't just free place them. Unlocking guild halls themselves should be pretty easy, so there are 2 ways that I would suggest to do it. One is to just give it to the guild master, that they can immediately start building their guild hall, even though it starts off as a very blank slate. The alternative would be to lock guild halls behind some other achievement, such as completing a number of daily challenges as a guild. That's just one example. But once you do have your guild hall, and as you're doing things and completing things with your guild, it's going to naturally start expanding, and new features are going to be added, new customizations are going to be unlocked. Guild perks are going to be something that is continually earned per expansion, so using the profession perk in mind, let's say in Battle for Azeroth, if you make, 1,000 flasks, you unlock the perk, and then all of a sudden, all of your guild alchemists just need to be in the guild hall, and they'll be able to create flasks and potions much faster. However, that's limited to Battle for Azeroth kinds of potions. So with that in mind, you would also need to unlock the same perk for each and every expansion that comes before it, and all the expansions that come afterwards. It sounds like kind of a soft nerf, but it's a way to make this content evergreen and make it so that the guild hall always feels a little bit relevant, unlike how the guild achievements and the guild perks are now. So that goes over what the guild halls are, but what they are not is a means to an end. It's not meant to be a race to rush for those perks because they're so powerful. They're not meant to be all that powerful. They're just perks. They're small conveniences for players. So with that same mindset, it's not meant to be a method of progression or even collection. So no pets, no mounts, nothing like that is tied into this system. Otherwise, the whole premise of guild halls is going to be compromised, and it's going to be treated the same as guild perks were treated in Cataclysm. So what this hopes to achieve is that people who are really into their guild can feel a little bit more proud and feel a little bit more good about being a part of it, while people who don't take it as seriously, or people that aren't a part of a guild, don't feel like they're missing out. I think that for the most part I managed to hit on the really big points, that guild halls are not so overpowered that it makes players feel bad about not being in the guild, or that it keeps players from going back to the city to get their business done. I admit that it is less robust than player housing. There's no crafting around it, there's no crazy farming for old instances in order to build stuff. But again, it is because, and it is with respect to the guild masters of WoW, who would largely be in control of their guild halls. In order to respect that, the system has to be limited. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of really bad feelings in those edge case situations where a mad guild master just disbands their guild and erases all the efforts that his or her guild members made. So what guild halls end up being is a symbol of pride in being part of a team that accomplishes things as a group. There's going to be a lot of work involved with making guild halls work. One is the very heart of it, which is the guild achievement system. That is going to be what pretty much dictates all of the unlocks for that system. There is, of course, the work that's going to be put into creating the guild halls themselves, somewhat large, sprawling buildings with expandable options and other doodads to help decorate it. And this will need to be maintained perpetually. So while I think I addressed most of the opposition to guild halls, there's one thing left, and that's the opportunity cost of creating this kind of content as opposed to any other kind of content. Blizzard can put their work into something else, or anything else. They already have with regards to Battle.net communities and the World of Warcraft communities. I don't have a reasoned or even a logical counterpoint to that. All I have to say to that is, you know what? Just give it a try and see what happens. And that's all I got. Thank you.